struggle with complexity. Okay, this is the best way I can describe it. I've thought about this for years. Most people struggle with complexity. And when people struggle with complexity, they create competing pictures in their mind. Think about it. If you've got something complex that you're trying to understand and you draw it out on a whiteboard, it probably will have lots of boxes and squares and lines between them. Does that make sense? Whether it's a process or an idea or an architecture or a rewire, whatever it is, if it's complex enough, you're going to have lots of different components. But the mind can't handle more than about 7 plus or minus 2 things at the same time. So you can hold about 5 concepts, 5 blocks, 5 components, 5 parts of a structure, 5 steps in a plan, up to about 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7 plus or minus 2. You can, depending on who you are and your intellectual capability or your ability to hold a concept in your mind, you can hold between 5 and 9 things in your head. More than about 7 to 9 things, people go into overload and they can't deal with complexity. So when people go into overload or when people reach a level of complexity that they're not comfortable with, they create multiple different images in their mind, right? And it's a little bit like we talked before about, comparative deletions. If someone says, oh, he's better than him, or that's good, or that's bad, bad, good, better, worse, they're all comparative deletions. They're actually 2 different pictures. We also talked about hope. Hope is when you hold 2 pictures in your mind. You've got one picture, which is the outcome you want. The other one is, well, that's if it doesn't work out. So to hope something is going to happen, you don't have certainty about it. You're going to have 2 pictures or more in your mind. And that creates confusion and it creates complexity. So you might say to yourself, if I've got a complex model in my head, if I'm trying to work out and it's complex and I'm not understanding it, how do I make it simpler? There's lots of ways of making it simpler. One of the ways of making it simpler is what we teach in the language section, which is about packaging or chunking. You can chunk up and to generalize certain pieces and create simpler ideas. You can take a whole bunch of components and say, let's just put a box around those components and call it outside, and put a whole box around these other components and call it inside, and let's deal with the inside electronics first, and then let's deal with the outside, and we've got some sort of conduit between them. So now you've got 3 concepts: inside, conduit, outside. Suddenly you've just got 3 components again. It's less than 7. It's easy to understand. So that's an example of chunking. Am I making sense? So if you understand chunking and generalizations and then going into specificity, and you can move between those layers of complexity and simplicity, then you can probably figure out a plan and figure out how to do something. But most people are predictable and most people can't do that. They literally don't know how to move between specificity and big picture and move between those different layers of abstractions. They can't do it because they've never had to do it, because they've never had to write down what the thoughts in their head look like and do flow diagrams or draw component diagrams or do an architecture diagram. What marketing has done is realized is that when people get confused, they look for help if they can't do it themselves. And if you want to offer help to somebody, the easiest way of giving people help is saying, I can give you a 3-step plan, or less than 7, a 4-step plan. All you have to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you get there, you've solved it. Isn't that easy? So the whole sort of industry has realized that all you need to do is give people a simple version of what's complex, and people will say, I want that. And they will buy it. Why? Because somebody is saying, I'm an expert, you're not. Let me show you how to make it simple. And people crave simplicity. But because people don't have the ability to generate simplicity in their own minds, they look for somebody external to do it for them. And that's called these self-help gurus. And that's what's happened in the world. People are using these gurus as a way of actually being able to think because they don't know how to think for themselves. So they export their thinking to somebody who's thought for you and says, look, at the end of the day, it's really simple. You just have to do 4 things. Right? But of course, I could tell you the 4 things that make up the NLP foundation program. I could say, look, all of NLP is just 4 things, isn't it? So this is an example of me using this in a useful way. All of NLP is just mindset, motivation, messaging, and mastery. That's all it is. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you understand mindset and you get your mindset, you upgrade your mindset, you can think clearly, you've got good principles from your mindset, and then you understand motivation and how goals work, and then you understand how to communicate very effectively. What you get is a trail of techniques you can learn then to help you get results very quickly. So that's an example of the self-help guru version